Welcome in, everyone, to the Football X Anonymous podcast. Great to have my law school colleague, Danny Potter, back on the show, and Packers fan. Didn't get to come on for the NFC North show last Monday, but it's all right. Your fellow Packers fan, Logan, he got it covered.
Thank you, Logan.
But we got a good show today. Gonna recap USFL Week 6, and then talk some NCAA. We got a lot of news: NCAA, XFL, and NFL news. Bunch of stuff happening in what's normally a relatively quiet part of the year. But and then we'll finish it off with looking at the AFC East draft. So. Get this up here. So starting off on Saturday, we had two Saturday, two Sunday games this weekend in the USFL. The Philly Stars getting it done over my Tampa Bay Bandits, 35-28. Tampa is slipping now. They are now 2 games back of a playoff spot in the South Division. So it'll be tough over the next 4 weeks to try to make it, but we'll try. Jordan Ta'amu, I mean, he was lights out in this game. 333, 4 touchdowns, only threw 1 interception. Pretty decent completion percentage. And it was like 2 different worlds with these teams. Tampa was throwing it all over the field, and Philly was just running it all over the field with Matt Colburn, who had a marvelous day, 140 yards, 18 carries, 3 touchdowns. I believe that is a high in the USFL. I don't think a position player has had more than 2 touchdowns in a game this season yet. So Matt Colburn making USFL history with this performance, at least in my mind, he did. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But yeah, Case Cookus wasn't anything special like I thought he wouldn't be. That's why I picked the Bandits, not just because they're my favorite team, but because I wasn't a believer in Case Cookus, but it was just the running game with Matt Colburn. That was the reason, really, that the Stars got it done in a 1-score game. And actually, Philly stopped Tampa on 4th and goal, I believe, at the 5-yard line. With a couple seconds left to secure the win. So that is how this game ended. But
despite the loss, I was going to say, despite the loss, I mean, if you're running the ball really well, I mean, you're going to win a lot of these games. So seeing what Matt Colburn did, I know you were talking about Case Cookus now, but going back to the running game for Philadelphia, I mean, 140 yards, almost averaging 8 yards carry, scoring 3 touchdowns, which nobody has done in the league yet. It just goes to show that, I mean, Philadelphia, if they can run the ball continuously like this, I mean, obviously it probably won't happen like this, 140 yards, 3 touchdowns. But I mean, if Matt Colburn or anybody else on that team is going to be running the ball really well, they have a good chance to have a good year.
Yeah, and this win definitely helps their playoff chances. Now they are 2 games up on Michigan and Pittsburgh for the 2nd spot in the North. I was actually wrong. The Bandits are only 1 game out of 2nd place in the South. So still got a chance with 4 games left.
Oh, wait. Before we move on, I for some reason thought this. Oh, okay. Tampa Bay lost, not Philadelphia. That's why Philadelphia won. The running game. Okay.
Yeah.
Hell of a running game. Yeah, Tampa Bay needs to step it up. I mean, Emmons and Washington only won 21 yards each. That doesn't cut it.
Yeah, Ta'amu was their leading rusher. 61 yards on 9 carries. Not much to talk about in the receiving game. It was big tight end day. Cheyenne O'Grady for the Bandits, Bug Howard for the Stars, 2 touchdowns each through the air. Not much yardage wise, but when you can score, that's a lot bigger. And then defensively, there weren't many stats, but I'm going to go with the Stars, Amani Dennis, 8 tackles, 6 of them solos, a pick, and 3 pass deflections. Great performance for him.
He's a defensive star.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say Matt Colburn have a hell of a game. He has to be the star for Philadelphia all around.
For sure. The Stars cover +3, over 39.5 hit. What's crazy, there's been a scoring run in the USFL the last 3 weeks. I saw a tweet today from the USFL. The overs are 11-1 in the last 3 weekends for the USFL. So
wow.
It was easy early on in the league this year to just hammer the unders because everyone was learning the teams and whatnot, and there wasn't much scoring. Defense was abound, but now you got to hammer the overs because the books are setting them low. All of them were under 40 this weekend, and you just got to hammer the overs at this point.
I honestly haven't been watching too much football since the NFL ended, but I might have to get into it again. I mean, if they're scoring high, it must be fun to watch. So,
yeah, and most of them are 1-score games, even though 1 score in the USFL is 9 points instead of 8. Okay, the second game on Saturday, the Birmingham Stallions continued to be undefeated, 6-0 now, 33-17 over the Michigan Panthers. Yeah, neither quarterback was that great, especially Jamar Smith for the Stallions. But again, the same thing that won Philadelphia the game. Birmingham, with former Alabama running back Bo Scarborough, he had only joined Birmingham 2 weeks ago, and he put on a masterful performance. 16 carries, 105 yards, a touchdown, 2 receptions, 15 yards as well. Alex Magoo put a capper on it with a 5-yard rushing touchdown, I think it was. And yeah, Lance Lenoir for Michigan had a pretty good day. He received most of the work from them, 9 catches, 82 yards on 12 targets. Did fumble once, however. But yeah, Birmingham is a monster. They're a hometown team, and they have the most crowds. They got the crowd behind them, and they're 6-0. It's hard to beat.
There you go.
Defensively, player of the game, Jonathan Newsom, the defensive end, 3 tackles, 1 solo, but he also had a sack, tackle loss, a pick, and a pass deflection. So I like those extra stat categories, not just tackles. So that's why he is my defensive player.
I see why, but shout out to JoJo Tillery, 10 tackles, 10 solo. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Doing it all by himself.
The Stallions covered -6.5, over 37.5 hits. Small font because there was a lot of defensive stats in this game. But yesterday, the Breakers got it done, 26-16 over the Pittsburgh Maulers. Again, neither quarterback was great. Not even close to great, really. New Orleans did not throw a touchdown. Vadley got picked off twice. And again, the running game. It's Anthony Jones, 22 carries, 102 yards, touchdown, 2 receptions, 20 yards there. Jordan Ellis punched one in as well for New Orleans. Story of the game. And the defense for the Breakers. as well. Ike Brown, 97-yard pick six.
Wow. I mean, again, look at the running game. You see that it just goes to show if you have a good running game, you're most likely going to win. And it carries over to NFL, college, high school, anywhere.
Yeah, and Bailey
That's how the Packers can be really good.
Bailey Gaither continues to score touchdowns. He now has 4 in 4 games. He's only played 4 out of the 6 games for the Maulers, but he has 4. He scores a touchdown a game.
All right.
So there's a receiver the Packers could add training camp.
You can try him out.
Defensively, like I said, there's a lot of stats, a lot of tackles. 3 10-plus tackle guys for the Maulers. That's because they were on the field for so long. Especially the first drive of the game from New Orleans. The Breakers just absolutely dominated, or not the first drive, the second drive. Both teams went 3 and out, and then New Orleans just grounded and pounded most of the way there. There were a few throws in there too, but 18 plays, 94-yard drive, 9:21 off the clock to score the first touchdown of the game. My defensive player is Ike Brown, though. He only had 1 tackle. It was a solo. But again, 2 picks, both off of Vadley, 3 pass deflections, and like I said, 97-yard pick 6 defensive touchdowns will always be my defensive player of the game.
It's always fun to watch those, any pick sixes, especially long ones like that.
The Breakers covered -7.5 and over 35.5. Taylor Bertolette putting a field goal through the uprights to make it a 2-score game. After the Maulers were coming back, they made it a 16-23 game, and Breakers broke them with the last field goal. Okay, last game of week 6. The Generals go to 5-1, 26-25 comeback win over the Houston Gamblers. And it continues. We've been talking about this on the show, man. Houston, this is, I believe, their 5th straight loss. It is. It's their 5th straight loss. And every single game has been a 1-score game. And they blow leads. They've blown leads in all 5 of their losses. It's actually crazy how bad they are in the 4th quarter. They were up. So they had leads of 19-14. They were up 5 twice late. They were up 19-14 with 5:46 to go in the 4th quarter, I believe third quarter. And then they had another 5-point lead, 25-20, with 5:50 to go in the 4th quarter.
Got to hold on to that lead. And if you're going to blow it, you can't. I mean, they're 1-5. They've been doing this continuously. This is going to hurt them.
Yeah, and they
not going to go anywhere.
When they scored to go up 25-20, they missed the 2-point conversion to make it a 7-point game. Jersey drives it down for 15 plays, 80 yards, runs the clock out, and scores on a 1-yard Louis Perez touchdown run with 2 seconds left in the game. So, yeah, Louis Perez got it done in the end, struggled, was very efficient, but not many yards. Put the ball on the ground twice. It was really a good day for Clayton Thorson, Houston. But DeAndre Johnson got injured. That's why he was only 4 for 4 for 52 yards and a touchdown. Got injured after that.
4 attempts.
But yeah, they also did a Philly special. That's why Louis Perez has 1 reception for 14 yards. Cam Eccles looper through that pass. Running game again was good. Jersey is the #1 running team in the league. 16 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown for Trey Williams. Mark Thompson struggled. He was the leading rusher in the league. I don't know if he is yet still. No, he is not. New Orleans' Jordan Ellis has him by 13 yards now after his 100-yard day. But Kevontae Turpin, that was the guy. That was the story of this game. Was Kevontae Turpin just lit it up. And like I said, DeAndre Johnson got hurt, but Turpin caught a touchdown from him, and then he caught another one from Louis Perez. But yeah, 10 catches, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 targets. Absolute monster day for him. Crazy thing about Kevontae Turpin, TCU kid, 5'9" though. He is not a big guy.
Like Wes Welker sort of deal.
Yeah, he's 5'9", 155. Very light too.
Wow.
So yeah. But yeah, I mean, he was a beast. He was everywhere. And he's fast. He was beating people off the line. So yeah, that was his day. Teo Redding had a nice day for Houston as well. 3 for 76, touchdown, caught all 3 of his targets. But yeah, the defenses were crazy in this one as well. Donald Payne, I believe, is the league leader in tackles. You can see why. 18 tackles in this game. 11 of them solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. But he's not my player of the game. He's not my defensive player of the game. My defense player of the game is on the Gamblers' side, even though they lost. Defensive tackle Tomasi Laulile. It was his birthday yesterday. And the big man, the defensive tackle, number 94, had 1 tackle, 2 fumble recoveries, and he took one of those fumbles back to the house, 59 yards. And for anyone, you gotta look the clip up because he did not look like a defensive tackle. He looked like he was running a 4.4 out there. I mean, he scooped the ball up and started running, and my jaw just like dropped because I was like, how is he running so fast when he's a defensive tackle? It was crazy.
That's great though. I mean, maybe he will make it into the league, to the NFL, if he can run that fast.
Yeah. But back to Donald Payne though, 76 total tackles through 6 weeks. He leads the league by 15 tackles.
That's crazy.
And he has 8 more solo tackles than anyone out there. But yeah, he is an absolute monster. Gerard Fernandez is the next guy at 61 tackles for New Orleans. But yeah, Donald Payne has been lights out. Former Jaguar linebacker. But also, the guy at the bottom, have to note that kicker Nick Vogel for the Gamblers. The only reason I put him on there, you can see he missed out on 4 points. That could have been it. That could have won the Gamblers the game. Even if he makes that extra point, they're tied at 26. And even though the Generals more than likely kick the extra point and win anyways, 27-26, they didn't even want to try that because of, possible block, and then Houston takes it backward 2 and they win the game 27-26. But Yeah, the Generals didn't even go for the extra point at the end after they scored the game-winning touchdown. So, but yeah, it's been a running theme though in the USFL. Kicking has been very poor, except for one or two guys. But
yeah, they're important. I mean, they can make every game.
yeah, you should know based off Mason Crosby's season last year.
He's got to retire. He should retire.
They have 3 kickers on their roster right now. So
yeah, he should retire. He's had a good run, but
the Gamblers did cover though, +7 over 37.5 easily.
Nice.
So real quick, because we don't have shows on Fridays currently, we may, but I'm just gonna give you my picks for week 7 coming up. We have 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday games. Saturday, first game is a big one. Generals against the Tampa Bay Bandits. That is a 12 p.m. Eastern on USA Network. And when I look at these two teams, I mean, Tampa, I love picking them because they're my team, but it's hard. When you look at the preview on the Fox Sports app, Jersey has all the categories: points per game, passing yards, rushing yards, points allowed, passing yards allowed, and rushing yards allowed. It's hard not to, and I think I'm going to have to pick the Generals just for the sake of wanting to be right. But it is make or break for Tampa. I mean, you have to start winning. You have to try to keep up with the Breakers. They're not going to catch the Stallions. They're 3 games out from the Stallions in first place. But being only 1 game out from second place in that last wild card or that last playoff spot, you have to step up, and this is a big game for them to try to win. But I'm going to pick the Generals. Their rushing attack is still lights out, 177.5 rushing yards per game. Louis Perez, we'll see. We'll see if he can do enough. The Tampa pass rush is pretty good. But yeah, the Jersey defense is also very good. They only allow 17.5 points per game. And 73.3 rushing yards per game they allow.
Donald Payne.
Yeah. Donald Payne plays for the Gamblers.
Oh, never mind. My bad.
But yeah, first game, I'm going with the Generals. They are 3.5-point favorites. Over-under is 42.5. So these 4 over-unders this weekend coming up are tough because they're all over 40. So I would suggest not doing. The next game on Saturday, the 4-2 Breakers against the 1-5 Panthers. And I have to go New Orleans. I mean, what does Michigan have? Shea Patterson has been so erratic. I think Paxton Lynch is still hurt. Jeff Fisher is just absolutely terrible at decision making. So, yeah, I mean, Kyle Sloter didn't have a good game for New Orleans, but they still won because they had the rushing duo of Anthony Jones and Jordan Ellis being able to carry the game if they need them to. So that's why I'm going to go with New Orleans. They, just like Tampa, they're trying to keep their spot at second place and make the playoffs. So I'm going to stick with New Orleans once again. I picked them last week. Yeah, their defense is very good, 16.8 points allowed per game, and 214 passing yards per game offensively. So, yeah, I like New Orleans. They are, what is that?
I do too.
They are 6-point favorites. 41.5 is your over-under for that one. That's 9 o'clock 9 p.m. on FS1. And then Sunday, we have the undefeated Birmingham Stallions 6-0 against the 1-5 Pittsburgh Maulers. I hate picking all the favorites every weekend, but it's hard not to when it's such a lopsided kind of league at this point in the season. I mean, Birmingham has been unstoppable, and I don't see what Pittsburgh has for them. Pittsburgh doesn't score much. They are scoring 12.7 points per game. 12.7.
Not going to cut it in this league. I mean, high scoring.
Yeah, their 6 games, they've scored 3. 23 is their high, I believe. 0, 13, 21 was their only win, which they won by 1. 16. So, yeah, their high is 23. They can't run the ball like they want to. They're only running 90 yards per game. They're allowing 23 points per game, which is pretty high. And yeah, I mean, I just don't see what they have. I see no way that Pittsburgh will be able to offensively keep up with Birmingham.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be Birmingham all the way. They're gonna win by maybe like 20 or so. I mean, they're 6-0. About to be 7-0. They're gonna crush them. There's no chance.
Yeah, 27 points per game on offense for the Stallions.
Yeah.
And 18.2 allowed per game. Birmingham, you're right, Danny. 13-point favorites. That is by far the most points given to a team this year. 41.5 their over under. And that is a 2 p.m. on Fox game on Sunday. Last game on Sunday, the 3-3 Stars against the 1-5 Gamblers. And again, I hate to pick the favorite, but until Houston proves that they can hold a lead in the fourth quarter, I have to keep picking against them because it's absolutely crazy that you cannot close out a game.
Yeah.
5 consecutive weeks now.
Yeah, they need to close it out, but if they can, I mean, their defense is great. However they 1-5, it's kind of mind blowing, but yeah, if they can hold the lead, I think they'll be fine.
And I actually really do want to pick them because I do like their team. Clayton Thorson, like I said, I mean, you look at his stat line against the Generals, pretty good, almost 80% completion, not a lot of yards, but he threw 3 touchdowns and only turned it over 1 time. So I think Clayton Thorson has been very good for them. They just cannot get it done in the clutch. And I really want to pick them, but I can't. I can't with the non-clutch factor. Philly's not playing for much. Like I said, they have a 2-game lead with 4 games left on the last 2 teams in the North Division. So maybe they do lay down to the Gamblers, but I don't see it happening. Case Cookus is going to do enough to get the Stars the win. And yeah, the Philly defense is better against the pass than Houston's defense is. Houston gives up a lot of yards through the air, 238.3 allowed through the air. So maybe Case Cookus does more than enough, and they go to the passing game over the running game in that one.
Just to make Houston Gamblers fans happy, I'll pick them to win. Maybe they'll hold their lead this time, and their defense, I'm sure their defense will show up. I mean, it's looking like they do. From the stat line at least. But yeah, Donald Payne. He plays for Houston, by the way. Yeah, I mean, might be a close game, but maybe Houston will pull it off.
Yeah, and I mean, if Houston would get this game, then they would have a shot. 1 game back with 3 games to go. They could make it, possibly. in that second spot in the North. Philly is a 4.5-point favorite. Over under the highest one of the 4 games, 43.5. I do agree. I think that one goes over. I think that's going to be a high scoring game. Gamblers, Stars. I won't be able to watch it though, because it is at 6 p.m. on Sunday on Peacock, which I do not have a subscription to.
I have Peacock. Maybe I'll check it out.
All right.
All right, Rusty, I got to head out, but good luck with the rest of the show. Good luck with your internship. And I'll definitely be back on one of these shows again soon. So
appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care.
So that was Danny Potter once again. Great friend and Packers fan. Should have Logan coming on relatively soon. But we'll continue. NCAA news here. The Pitt wide receiver Jordan Addison has officially transferred. And right on cue, as I was saying, we should have Logan here shortly. Comes in right away. What's up, my friend?
It is going good, my guy. How are you?
I'm living the life, man. Chilling here in Nashville,
Love it.
But yeah, we had Danny on there for the first half an hour talking USFL. Thought it was a pretty good weekend. I don't know if you caught any of the games or had any thoughts on any of those.
I did not. I did see, though, that the Houston Gamblers continued their just brutal streak of choking games away.
Dude, 5-point lead with 5:50 to go. Louis Perez drove them down 18 plays, 90 yards in 5:50 and won it on the last play of the game.
That's a tough break.
And also, we had, I'll reiterate the trend that we have now the last 3 weeks. Overs are 11-1 now, the last 3 weeks of the season.
Wow.
We're scoring points now, man. No more unders. But yeah, I gave out my picks for week 7. Once again, I'm picking all the favorites. I said I hate to do it, but it's kind of a lopsided league at this point. So Breakers, Stars, Stallions, and the other game, I think it was the Generals. Yeah, I'm picking the Generals over my Tampa Bay Bandits.
Is Birmingham still undefeated?
Yeah, 6-0. They're going to be 7-0.
Wowzers.
Because they're playing the Maulers this weekend. They're a 13-point favorite on Sunday.
Wow.
Crazy. But yeah, NCAA news, though, just starting this portion. So Jordan Addison officially transferred to USC. Nothing that we didn't already know was going to happen. But Lincoln Riley officially gets probably the number 1 transfer portal guy this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's definitely up there for sure. And I mean, an instant impact player for them. I mean, he was the Bolitnikoff winner, right? Last year.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's a good position for him too. I mean, he'll slot right into that Lincoln Riley offense that has produced plenty of NFL talent at wide receiver. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I'll have to see if Caleb Williams can actually be a solid quarterback or not. But they're friends, Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison, from their high school days in the DC area. But I just thought about this too. I mean, going from Pittsburgh to USC, I think the NIL deals are probably astronomically larger
Yep.
in Southern California than it is in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So,
And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with the transfer portal has already been becoming such a huge thing. And it seems like this could be NIL could actually just create it into even more of a big thing, which, I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll give us plenty of content to talk about. You know, whether or not it's a good thing for the game, you know, you can go either way, really. Yeah, we'll see. I think we honestly just have to kind of let it play out for a while, like, because it's still such a new territory. We just kind of have to see the cause and effect a little bit.
yeah, and I was looking at the SP Plus rankings on ESPN today that they just put out, updated SP Plus rankings for college football. And at the end of the article, he was saying about USC and LSU being the two most notable transfer portal players this offseason. It didn't affect their SP Plus as much because he doesn't know how transfers will actually affect the on-field play. So he said he wants to wait like 2 or 3 years to see if it actually translates or not.
Yep.
And
I'd
then
be shocked if it doesn't.
then he's got to update his model. But
yeah.
Anyways, the only other thing I have for NCAA is the SEC. They are having their spring league meetings and in Destin, Texas, possibly thinking about creating an intra-conference playoff for their conference championship prior to the college football playoff. So I read the full article. It was a pretty long article, but had a couple different things about conference game scheduling and whatnot. But the thing I have screenshotted here is the most obvious model is an 8-team one. So there are all these talks with Oklahoma and Texas coming over about switching their divisions around. And I know they mentioned in the article possibly moving to a 4-division format, 4 divisions, 4 teams per division. And then you have the 4 division winners and then 4 wild cards. But they said apparently there's like 40 different models they're going to discuss, or that they did discuss at their fall meetings. But yeah, there would be probably the SEC championship game would then fall on New Year's-ish area of the calendar, which might be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I like it.
It feels like kind of the beginning of, you hear people talk about how there's becoming this theory that these bigger conferences, especially the SEC, are going to break away from the NCAA and become their own autonomous, kind of like a super league, essentially. And I mean, that if they do that, and that's a decision that's made, that kind of feels like it, doesn't it? Like them kind of doing it their own little playoff, it kind of as like a soft launch, to see what the ratings are, what the money looks like. And yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and with an 18 playoff, there'd be 3 extra games instead of just 1. So they said about, Georgia and Alabama both met in the college football playoff national championship. They played 15 total games. If they would do this, they would then end up playing 16, 17 games, possibly even, which I don't have an issue with. That gets you more pro ready. You're playing a 17 game schedule already, So I don't have an issue with that. It's tough. As much as I love Georgia, SEC, and whatnot, I don't like them breaking off because it doesn't have the feel that everyone still has a chance.
Yeah.
I do like what the NCAA shut down, or the 3 new commissioners for the Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC, or the Alliance, as a lot of people call them, because they did form an alliance. The expanded college football playoff bracket, moving from 4 to 8 or 12 or 16, whatever. I like that. But when they shut that down, now we're not going to have a different college football playoff bracket until 2026 at the earliest. Oklahoma, Texas come over in 2025 to the SEC. So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
It's crazy times. It's crazy times in college football.
And I think it's also crazy that, we're talking about this, we're here in 2022, we're talking about 2025, 2026. And before we know it, we're there.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
We're going to be there. So, it's coming fast, and they got to make decisions now that will impact those times in the near future. So we shall see what comes of the SEC spring meetings and whether it leads to anything or not. Because I know Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, he was very adamant of how mad he was that the other commissioners shut down the expanded playoff. So they're like, all right, if you don't want to do it, we'll do our own. XFL news. The XFL announced it has signed a broadcast agreement with Disney/ESPN to have exclusive broadcasting rights from 2023 to 2027. They're going to broadcast all 43 games each season, 10 regular season for each team, and then 2 playoff games and a championship game. They will all be broadcast on ABC, ESPN, and FX, which I thought was interesting. I don't know. They're bringing in all these networks now to put games on. We got hockey games on USA. We got NBA on TNT. College basketball. The tourney's always on. True TV and whatnot. Now we're gonna have football games on FX next year.
And as long as it doesn't go to streaming, that's your worst nightmare. Once the streamers get involved, and then it's like that, but all on streaming services.
Well, they can put it on ESPN Plus. That's fine. Just don't put it on freaking Disney Plus. Don't put it on Disney Plus. But yeah, another massive agreement for the XFL and The Rock. I mean, I just don't. It's going to be a war. We are going to see a war next spring between the USFL and the XFL. And it's going to be Disney versus Fox. Or I don't know who owns Fox, but
yeah,
whatever. Disney versus Fox. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's a great move for the XFL. And I mean, I feel like if you had to hitch your wagon to like a major like TV provider, it's Disney and ESPN for sports that you want to hit your wagon to. So, and
I mean, I know personally, like I'm more likely to watch the XFL. Now, granted, we covered XFL before we covered USFL, and I've liked what the USFL has done, but I like ESPN. I don't watch ESPN. I only watch games and stuff on ESPN. I don't actually like their programs, but I mean, the ESPN app is so much easier to use than Fox Sports app. I know that. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who picks what. Okay. NFL news. We are starting off on a somber note on NFL news because of a report that I got literally right before the show started today. It was about former Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins. Toxicology report came out. And unfortunately for that story, he was legally drunk prior to being struck by the dump truck. 0.20 and 0.24 were the tests, the results of the two tox tests that came back well above the 0.08 legal limit. So that sucks to know that that was a factor. And, we've seen drunk people. They stumble sometimes. And although we don't necessarily know that's what happened, I think that's a viable possibility that is what happened in his case.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm sure will be kind of fleshed out as they kind of go through the process of figuring out what happened. And yeah, I mean, it's just another tragic chapter and a pretty sad story.
Yeah, for sure. But more NFL news. Another quarterback. The NFL officials met with Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson this past week. Haven't heard anything on what went down or what they talked about, but I think it's just another. I don't necessarily know if we could call it a preliminary meeting at this point. I mean, they've already talked to him before, I think, right?
I think I did hear that they want to meet with him again. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't remember where I heard that from.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, how many times can you talk to the guy though?
Right.
Like, I don't understand how many times you got to talk to him before you know whether you want to make a decision or not.
Right. Well, especially with all the other information that's out there for you to look at. Like, there's only so much that you can get from him.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We're still waiting to see what's going to happen with him. I can't remember what I originally said, but I would think a 6 game is the minimum he would get, possibly an 8. But yeah, I think 6 is probably around what he's going to get eventually.
Yeah, I think 6 to 8 would be a probably somewhere around that range would probably be my guess. And I have to think it's coming a little soon, right? It has to. I mean, we're getting to summer, and I mean, obviously it's now like the official off season once the draft's over, but it's going to be training camp in no time and preseason in no time, So this decision kind of has to get made. And I mean, after meeting with them, I feel like they have to be close to handing out that suspension.
Well, and luckily for the Browns, they signed Jacoby Brissett in the offseason because Baker Mayfield has not shown up for voluntary OTAs.
Big shocker there.
So, yeah, they will not have Baker out there, but they might have to deal with Jacoby Brissett for the first half of the season-ish. which if you're looking for a bet, I mean, I don't know what the over under is on wins for the Browns this season. I think it's probably around 9, maybe 10. If it's 10, I would say go smash the under right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I can find it real quick on DraftKings. Where is team futures? Regular
I
season.
actually think the Browns might be. I was scrolling through Twitter earlier today, and there were some odds up on over/under win totals, and the Browns were the only one who didn't have one because of the Deshaun Watson situation.
You're right. It's not on DraftKings. Yeah.
Which, I mean, makes sense. Like,
I
it's a
hate
huge.
books, dude. They're so annoying. Like, just take your lumps.
Right.
You may be right. You may be wrong. You're going to make money either way.
Right.
Someone's going to bet the over. Someone else is going to bet the under, and you're going to make money. But, yeah. So that's Deshaun Watson's situation currently. The NFL announced today the Cardinals will be featured on HBO's Hard Knocks in season. So we had the Colts were the guinea pig last year, the first ones to do in season Hard Knocks. Cardinals this year, which I kind of don't like that they're the in season ones because I think they have a lot more storylines in training camp than they do when they hit the regular season, because just like Baker Mayfield isn't at Browns OTAs, Kyler Murray didn't show up for voluntary OTAs at Cardinals for the Cardinals either.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate with it because I also think there are going to be some interesting in-season things to pay attention to. Kingsbury and Steve Keim's seat has to be really hot right now. Like Steve Keim is like one of the most tenured GMs in the league, and he just doesn't have that much to show for it. And Kingsbury is going to be entering year 3 of his guys, his staff, and it's kind of the make or break year. But the Cardinals got worse this offseason. D-Hop isn't coming back for, 6 games, right?
Yeah.
Chandler Jones is gone. J.J. Watt can't stay healthy. And they're playing in probably the second hardest division in football. So I think if there are struggles going on early on in the season and we hit the halfway point, I think it could be pretty interesting TV viewing for us football fans.
So just to recheck, Kingsbury is going into his 4th season.
So that just underscores it.
Yeah, and I mean, if they don't sign Kyler, I mean, does he show up? Or does he wait and be a normal holdout guy, come in the week before the regular season and go? Which I don't think he can afford to do. I mean, I understand he has to protect himself and try to find a contract that gives him long-term security and what he thinks he's worth. But how can you think that you're worth anything after what you put on the field the last 3 games of the regular season and probably one of the worst playoff performances in NFL history against the Rams?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, who Kyler looks like at the beginning of the year versus who he looks like at the end of the year are like 2 different players. And I mean, I think that does call into questions about his durability, longevity. I mean, he's not, how do I want to word this? He's short, but he's not small, right? Like he's a stronger guy, but still you have to wonder especially when you're looking to pay a guy long term, how's he going to hold up? And I think maybe that's why he's pushing for this contract now, because we've mentioned it on the pod before. Like, if you're a quarterback who's top 10, which, I mean, I guess Kyler's fringe, but I feel like you can put him in there somewhere.
He's been in the MVP race the last 2 seasons.
Right. Yep. If you're that guy, you're getting top of the market money, and the money just keeps going up the longer you wait. So it's more economically beneficial to you if you wait, if you don't try to accelerate the process. But he's doing the opposite. So I don't know.
I think the Cardinals are in the same exact position as the Ravens right now, though. They have mobile quarterbacks. Granted, Kyler is a hell of a lot better passer than Lamar Jackson is. But I think they're in the same boat. I mean, it seems like neither team wants to pay because they've gotten mediocre results from both quarterbacks. I mean, Kyler's only been to the playoffs once, and it was just a dumpster fire of a performance, deer in the headlights from Kyler. And Lamar's been in the playoffs, twice? Won once when he beat the Chargers. But other than that, I mean, he hasn't been the greatest. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm not a Lamar Jackson fan, so I would not pay Lamar because, like I said, he's not a passer. He has shown that his struggles passing the ball at Louisville have translated to the NFL. He hasn't been the passer that they thought they could develop. Kyler is the opposite. He's been a passer from the time he was at Oklahoma. And I think he could get paid. But again, Russell Wilson has been the only undersized mobile quarterback that has been successful. So, yeah. It's a tough situation.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see because both Lamar and Kyler are taking, even though, like, you know, we've kind of set this up, they're kind of similar players, at least in play style, like, and also where they are in their contract kind of journey. But they're both taking vastly different approaches. Like, Lamar has said that he's fine, like, waiting it out, and he has intended to do so. It's been my understanding that the Ravens have tried to kind of get a deal done because they know that the price is just going to keep going up. And he's been just fine kind of waiting it out until he is either gets the franchise tag or is an unrestricted free agent and kind of control his own destiny. But Kyler's looking to accelerate this situation. So it's going to be interesting to see how both of those situations plays out.
Go ahead, Ravens. Sign Lamar to a long-term deal. You will regret it, and that is perfectly fine as a Steelers fan. The Commanders made some news. That wasn't bad for the first time in a while. I mean, you could call it bad, I guess, some in some aspects, but they purchased land in Virginia, 200 acres, I believe it was, for $100 million as a possible site for a new stadium. They have been looking to get one. Their current stadium, FedEx Field, has been in use since 1997. They're looking to create a new 60,000 seat stadium, domed stadium. And they really don't care where it's at. They've looked at land in Maryland. They've looked at land in the DC area. They said they want to, they would like to go back and use the land of the old RFK Stadium in DC, but they said it's really tough with all the federal restrictions in DC. So they're like, all right, we're open to going to Virginia if we have to. I don't know how you can still call them the Washington Commanders if they're in Virginia, but they're fine with doing that. And it'd be interesting to see a domed stadium in the north. Because, I don't know. Most of the teams in the north don't have domes, except for the more western teams of Detroit and Minnesota. But every other team in the north doesn't have a dome. So, but yeah, they're looking to do a lot of stuff though, not just the stadium. They also want to have a practice facility right there with it, an amphitheater, a 15 to 20,000 seat amphitheater, small indoor music arena, high-end retail shops, bars and restaurants, and residential living. And then the roof of the dome would be translucent, and it would be white during the day and then burgundy at night. So,
cute.
That's what they want to do. And their current stadium contract runs up in 2026. That's when it expires. But they can renew it if they want to go a little bit longer.
Yeah, it was funny. I saw a tweet earlier. A reporter Google mapped it from like the center of DC to where this like land is that they purchased, and it's about like an hour ride. So it's like an hour away from DC. So just like you said, like, I don't know, you can keep calling them the Washington Commanders, but
yeah, I mean, we know new stadiums are always cool though. It'll attract if it's built right and whatnot.
and if they can win.
Looks pretty. Yeah, but even if they are not winning, I mean, the tourism that a new stadium attracts itself is good in the first 3 years at least. Okay, Vince Wilfork, former Patriots and Texans defensive tackle, he is going to be inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame this season. Definitely earned. Great part of many of their championships. I don't know exactly how many he won. Did he just win the first 3? I don't think he was there. I think he had retired by the time they won their 4th. But I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I don't know. But I do know that it was fun watching Vince Wilfork play. For a DT, he was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and he moved pretty well for as big as he was. But I mean, definitely one of the best run stuffers in the league in his time. And now he has his barbecue company or something like that. I know it's something like that. I don't know exactly what he does, but yeah, he's into barbecue. I know that. Terrible news. Free agent running back Tariq Cohen with the Bears last in 2020 ruptured Achilles while working out. He was actually working out on Instagram Live. Went down. He hasn't played since week 3 of 2020. So a long time since Tariq Cohen has been on the field. Tried to get back, and another setback. I mean, it sucks, man. He was pretty fun to watch in his time.
Yeah. And I mean, he's just been fed like a boatload of adversity. lately. And it's tough to see. Hopefully he comes back. But yeah, I mean, like you said, he's been out of football for so long, at least, on the field. It's just so hard to fight back from that and like multiple injuries on top of it. So.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, he hasn't played since week 3 of 2020 when he tore his ACL.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Was working back from that. And then last year he broke his ankle, I believe, in training camp or something like that. Working back again, ruptured Achilles.
Yeah.
Just 3 straight hard injuries that take a long time to come back from, especially as a running back, and especially as a running back of his nature that is smaller and utilizes his quickness. Definitely tough having leg injuries.
Yeah.
On the good news, opposite end of the spectrum for a running back. Second-year running back, Jags, Travis Etienne. Head coach Doug Peterson said he will be a full go at OTAs after having sitting out his entire rookie season last year with the Liz Frank injury. Great to have Travis Etienne back. And I know dynasty owners will be very excited to see him on the field for the first time this season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him back because I think last year, when the pick came in, all of us in Fantasyland were obviously upset because, they were like, what are you doing? You have James Robinson. I mean, there is a football element to that, though, right? Like running backs are becoming undervalued.
Yeah.
You were on a team that went 1-15 and you took another running back with your second first-round pick. But, I mean, the last time we saw Travis Etienne on a football field, I mean, electric. So I'm really excited to see what he can be in this offense. And, I mean, we talked about it before on the pod. The Jaguars have gotten better this offseason. I think that with the amount of money they've spent, you'd probably like to see a little bit more in the way of, like, raising the ceiling, but they have risen their floor. So I think this offense should be much better. I think Trevor Lawrence should take a step in the right direction. I'm excited to see how Travis Etienne can also help kind of elevate them.
We just gotta surround him in bubble wrap, though. We gotta make sure he gets to week 1.
Yeah. Yep.
Because we're almost to June. We got 3 months and a couple weeks to go till week 1. So yeah.
Yep.
Sure he gets there.
Yeah. Knock on wood.
Next thing here. Legendary punter has retired. Ravens punter Sam Cook retires at age 39. 16 years in the league. Lengthy career with Baltimore. Most games played in Ravens history, 256. That's more than Terrell Suggs, more than Ray Lewis played with Baltimore. So, yeah, big shoes to fill for them. And I know I watched the video. The tribute video is about 5 minutes long, had a boatload of different Ravens people involved in that. Some of them I was like, why are these people in here? I feel like some of the people that were in that video weren't really that important. I think Anthony Levine was in that video. I'm like, whatever. But yeah, I mean, they had Joe Flacco in there. Obviously, Coach Harbaugh was there. Ozzie Newsome, Eric DaCosta, Lamar Jackson. But yeah, it was a pretty good video. And yeah, Sam Cook, a great punter in his time.
Mm-hmm. And it makes a lot of sense why they spent a fourth on who was Jordan Stout, right, out of Penn State.
My guy.
Yeah, Penn State guy.
He has a booming leg,
Mm-hmm.
which we will talk more about that when we get into the AFC North draft recap. But moving on to some deals. We had some players signed, some big name players coming off the board finally. The Browns re-signing defensive end Jadeveon Clowney, 1 year, $11 million. So this is back-to-back 1 year deals for him from Cleveland. He actually turned down multi-year offers worth $14 to $15 million a year from other teams because he wanted to come back to Cleveland. So that solves the Browns' issues opposite of Myles Garrett once again for at least this season.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it is a good position for him. I feel like he did very well in their system. I think he's a good scheme fit for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, though, because the Browns they're not going to ever pay him or give him a multi-year deal. I think that's kind of a given at this point when you see him sign back-to-back 1 year deals with them. It's just I just can't see it ever happening, especially because he's 30 now. Uh, 29. He's 29. So still, I'm surprised he's still relatively young, but yeah, I just can't see a way that Cleveland ever gives him a multi-year deal.
Yeah, I think maybe what his thought process is hoping that he has another successful year in Cleveland and then get like that 3 year deal for his 30 to 33rd year. But I mean, unless he like has an insane year for the Browns, like just with his injury history, it's always going to be a risk. So
yeah, he is coming off a 9-sack season for the Browns, so that was very good for him, anyways. And he played 14 games last year, one season of a full year. Why is it not? Okay. Yeah, it never had double-digit sack season either. So, anyways, the one I am most happy about, though, texted this in the group chat when it happened. The Eagles got a massive post-draft free agent signing. They signed Giants corner James Bradbury, 1 year, $10 million, $7.25 million guaranteed. And like the Eagles always do, 4 void years on the back end of that. That lowers his 2022 cap number to $2.278 million. So very affordable for Philly this year. And they get an instant starter opposite of Darius Slay.
yeah, I mean, the Eagles got, I mean, if you could put them on the short list of one of the best teams that got better this year, this offseason. Just on both sides of the ball. I think that they moved last year kind of from a fringe playoff team, which they kind of snuck in, to I think they're a playoff lock, to be honest. I mean, as long as, Jalen Hurts, even if Jalen Hurts comes out and is the guy he was last year, doesn't improve, but is at least the guy that they had last year, I think they're still going to win around 10, 11 games and make the playoffs. So, yeah, good. This is good roster management.
And I'm kind of being a little bit of a homer here, but I mean, how can you not take a flyer on the Eagles Super Bowl right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're still sitting at plus 2,500 on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's monster value right there.
Yeah. Well, especially because the NFC is relatively weak compared to the AFC.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think the Eagles win the division. I'm saying right now,
Mm-hmm.
they win the division. I don't care what Dallas is bringing back, what they have on offense. I still don't believe in their defense. It's fine. We'll outscore them, and we'll play better. We'll play defense because we got better guys. We'll be able to cover their guys this year. The Colts got a big free agent as well. Not probably someone the Colts fans are necessarily looking forward to, but they got another quarterback. Frank Reich has been reunited with his quarterback while he was the offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl championship with the Eagles. Nick Foles, Bears quarterback Nick Foles, has signed with the Colts, 2-year deal there. The Eagles were also involved, I heard. But there were some issues there. Obviously, they would have had to trade Gardner Minshew. And also, they did not want Jalen Hurts to have anything to worry about if he were to struggle, because we know that if that would have happened, Jalen Hurts struggles. Knowing Philadelphia fans, they would have been screaming for Nick Foles.
Yep.
So I think it was a good decision for Howie Roseman not to move forward and push harder to get Nick Foles.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a really good point because of the past history and in the fan base's deep love for Nick Foles, obviously for good reason, but in this situation, probably not the best for where the team currently is at. And I think for the Colts, I mean, I think this is a good move. I think I think at the very least, he's a quality backup. Obviously, you hope he never has to see the field because Matty Ice is upright and playing well. But when you got an old quarterback, it's not always the case. So,
yeah, and they had to do it. I mean, they had to find someone.
Yeah,
it would have been tough to go into the season with Sam Ellinger as your number one backup. Now they did sign Jack Cohn as well, an undrafted free agency. So they got those two guys. But they get a solid backup option for Matt Ryan. The Niners, they signed Bills tight end Tyler Kroft to a 1-year deal. Bills and Jets tight end Tyler Kroft. So he will complete their threesome at the tight end position. He will actually, he might not make the roster anyways, because they do have Charlie Warner as well. But actually, ESPN's slotting Tyler Kroft ahead of Ross Dwelley and Charlie Warner. They're putting him right at tight end 2 behind George Kittle. So I don't see him that way. I think the Niners really like Ross Dwelley. And I think Kroft's going to battle Charlie Warner for that 3rd spot.
Yeah. I mean, it's good for them to get depth, but I don't know. It's not that. I don't think it's going to make that big of a impact roster wise.
Until Tyler Kroft catches the game-winning touchdown week 1 for the Niners. I don't even know who they're playing.
More like in the divisional round against the Packers. He'll be the one to break my soul.
And then we'll replay this video.
Yeah.
Logan said it was not going to be a big impact.
I did it to myself. I only have myself to blame.
And lastly, here the Dolphins got a big defensive boost, signing Chiefs linebacker Melvin Ingram. We'll talk more about the Dolphins, but Melvin Ingram, they have him slotted in as the backup to Andrew Van Ginkel at one of the outside linebacker spots in the base 3-4. I would think he would be a starter, but they have a lot of depth at outside linebacker now, especially with him.
Yeah, I think it's a great move. You bring in a veteran guy, to potentially help coach up Jalen Phillips a little bit. He has a ton of value in sub packages, in designed pass rushing roles. The Dolphins roster on paper is great.
With 4 draft picks.
Yeah.
But they use a lot of those other picks to get players. So we'll talk a lot more about them at the end, because they are the last AFC East team we're talking about. But I haven't seen any other news. So let's move into our 8th round series, starting with the New York Jets. So here are the first picks for each team. The Jets have the top row. And it's nice now that we have mini camp OTAs going, because we have pictures of rookies in actual jerseys, actual helmets. I could only find 3, but we have Sauce Gardner wearing number 20 there for the Jets, number 4 overall. Garrett Wilson, number 17 there for New York, number 10 overall. And then Jermaine Johnson went number 26. The Bills, they picked corner Kyer Elam out of Florida, number 23 overall, wearing number 24 there. And then the Patriots picking center Cole Strange, 29th overall in the first round. And the Dolphins didn't have a pick till the 3rd, but their first pick in the draft, number 102 overall, they went linebacker Channing Tindall out of Georgia, which I correctly predicted. If as one person noted on my 7-round mock drafts for each division, I did get the Dolphins pick right when I did the AFC East 7-rounders. So good for me.
Profit.
But yeah, let's starting with the Jets here. Like I said, Sauce Gardner, Cincy, number 4, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, Ohio State, number 10, edge rusher, Jermaine Johnson, Florida State, number 26. 2nd round, running back Breece Hall, Iowa State, number 36. 3rd round, tight end Jeremy Ruckert, Ohio State, number 101. 4th round, they had 2 picks, offensive tackle Max Mitchell out of Louisiana, number 111, and edge rusher Michael Clemens, Texas A&M, number 117. And that was it. I have never seen that, I don't think, from a team where they don't even try to trade back or trade back into the draft the last 3 rounds. The Jets were like, all right, we're done. 4th round, we're good. We're sitting pretty.
And, it surprises me that you don't see more of that, because, and as a Packer fan, I know it a lot, because we like cling to our like late round picks and we stack a lot of them. But I mean, the hit rate for those isn't great. So I don't know. I mean,
but that's the point. You get a lot of lottery tickets because you try to hit one.
I guess, yeah, but I don't know. I'd rather, I guess, just move up for your guy, like kind of what they did with Breece Hall. But
yeah, I think, I mean, we're talking about Eagles, Dolphins being 2 teams that really killed the offseason. I mean, the Jets have been fantastic. And to get the guys specifically in the 1st round that they did, number 1 corner probably, with Sauce Gardner, maybe the number 1 wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, and to get Jermaine Johnson at 26 after I heard that he was getting top 10 talk was just crazy.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to pay that much to go back up and get him with the Titans. I don't know why ESPN has him slated as a backup right now to John Franklin Myers, but that's how they have it. So, but yeah, Garrett Wilson slotted in as a starter. Breece Hall starter. Sauce Gardner, starter. And Jeremy Rucker was an interesting selection. They signed 2 tight ends in free agency. I had no clue why they needed to draft a tight end.
Yeah. Well, and they had Kenny Yeboah, who, a lot of people, I mean, he went undrafted, but they had come out and said that they would have had taken him in the 4th. They had a 4th round grade on him. And I think I don't know a lot because I'm not a Jets fan, obviously, but I think he played well in spurts last year. So, yeah, I mean, interesting. I like Jeremy Rucker, and I like potentially what he can do for them, especially in the run game, because that is so important to a LaFleur Shanahan disciple, especially those outside zone concepts, which are why they place a premium on tight ends. So maybe that kind of, you peek behind a curtain, and that's kind of why they went with that there. But yeah, I think that's the only selection of theirs that like you maybe scratch your head a little bit. But I mean, yeah, I feel like the rest of it's just a slam dunk. They did the 2 biggest things they need to do this offseason in this draft, and that was help their young second-year quarterback and then help their defensive-minded head coach, and they accomplished both of those things.
Yeah, I liked all their picks pretty much. Again, the Rucker thing Trayvon Wesco is gone. I mean, he's not going to make it. There's absolutely no chance. Because he was their H-back guy, but they signed Nick Baldwin in free agency, and we know the Shanahan style offense like fullbacks. So I would assume Nick Baldwin is going to make the roster as their fullback. And then Uzama, Conklin, Rucker. I mean, they're going to run 3 tight ends, run 13 personnel.
Right.
All year. I don't know. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that they really don't have receivers outside of the top 3. Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson. There's not much after that. Denzel Mims has been a bust as a 2nd-round pick. Braxton Berrios actually had a fantastic season last year for them, but now he's backed up behind Wilson and Moore and Davis. So, and also the Breece Hall thing is kind of weird too, because it seemed like they really liked Michael Carter, and I hate it because I have him in Dynasty, and he's gonna get all the carries taken away from him now with Breece Hall. Tevin Coleman's still on the roster too, but yeah, I know Chris was happy with this draft. He got exactly what he wanted, especially with Breece Hall and Jeremy Ruckert. I know those were 2 guys that he definitely wanted for the Jets. Got them exactly where he wanted them. And the 1st round, I know he was happy with. So, yeah, Jets did a good job. And I kept saying, Howie Roseman's the GM of the year. And then Chris was like, yeah, but what about Joe Douglas? I was like, who did Joe Douglas learn from? Mr. Roseman.
The Godfather.
So, yeah. Your grade before we get into fantasy.
Yeah, I think I'll go A-, just because, the Rutgers pick a little bit. They had to trade up for Jermaine Johnson, which, I mean, we talked about is good trade, obviously, still, but you just still have to trade up for it. The Breece Hall pick, I like the Breece Hall pick because I think Kim and Carter have complementary skill sets and what they can provide. So they're still going to be able to be used, but it might have been a little early for a running back, especially in a relatively weaker class. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the nitpicky things that you could say about this draft. Wholesale though, slam dunk.
I think also in the 4th round, instead of the 2 players that they got, maybe switch out one of those 2 with a double down on a wide receiver. Possibly. I don't know who was there at 111 and 117, but I could have seen that happening. Okay, so fantasy wise, 3 players there. Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, Jeremy Ruckert. Still going off Mike Clay's rankings. So they might be a little bit dated at this point, but we're still rolling with it. Garrett Wilson, number 27 overall dynasty rankings, top 240. Wide receiver 16. He is the number 2 rookie and wide receiver 2 behind only Drake London. So pretty high for Garrett Wilson.
And I gotta say that's a little rich for me in Dynasty land. And I like Garrett Wilson. I think the best thing you can be as a wide receiver is the ability to create your own space in your releases and at the top of your routes. And he does that. Like, he is a good separator, but he is undersized. And the track record for those guys in the NFL isn't always great. Now that could be changing. I mean, we saw a lot of guys in the first, Chris Olave, Jahan Dotson, who are relatively undersized by NFL standards, go in the first round. So that might be something that's changing. But again, it is a little risky for a dynasty player at a wide receiver 2 spot in rookie draft.
At least he has a defined role. He's going to play outside. He's going to play outside opposite of Corey Davis, and we're going to have Elijah Moore in the slot. So, Brees Hall, he is 1 spot below, number 28 overall out of 240, RB11. And again, same thing, 3rd overall in the top 65 rookies, RB1.
Yeah. Brees Hall to me is tricky. He's another guy that, and I'm talking for fantasy, I'm not talking in general, right? But again, I think Michael Carter is still going to have a big role in this offense, especially in passing situations. So it's like, if you're in a PPR format, which most people are, Brees Hall isn't going to get that much value there. I actually kind of almost like Kenneth Walker more from a fantasy perspective. I think he has a clearer path to a complete role because Chris Carson is like out again with another weird neck injury. Rashad Penny has not been able to stay on the field. I don't know. And I mean, I like Brees Hall. I like his skill set. He can be a 3-down, do-it-all back. But I just think with, again, the Shanahan tree, I don't know if the volume's going to be there as much as people think it is.
Well, they got 3 tight ends now, so might as well just run it every play.
Just run goal line. Dude, bring back the Maryland
run 23 personnel, and, that's how we're going to do it. Yeah, split back as well. 23 personnel, split back.
Wishbone.
And then Jeremy Ruckert, not ranked in the top 240 overall players for Dynasty, but he was ranked top 65 rookies, 48th overall, tight end 7. Again, we mentioned it. They signed Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzomah in free agency. Ruckert is by no shot getting a chance this year. Maybe next year. I don't remember what the contracts were for Conklin and Uzomah, but I think Conklin's was only a 1 year, right? And then Uzomah's was a longer 3 years, I think. But yeah, Ruckert's not going to get a shot this year. If you're drafting him at all, it's going to be your last pick, and it's because you need tight end depth for the future.
And even then, I'm not sure I would. He still has to make a jump or at least show that he can be a pass catcher. I mean, he did show that in spurts at Ohio State, but that wasn't his defined role in that offense. He was more of a run blocker. So, I mean, that's where he brings the value on a football field. That's not what the value you're looking for from a fantasy perspective.
Okay. Moving on to the Buffalo Bills here. Number 1 pick, corner Kyer Elam out of Florida, 23rd overall. Second round, they went running back James Cook out of Georgia, number 63. Third round, linebacker Terrell Bernard, Baylor, number 89. Didn't have a fourth rounder. Fifth round, wide receiver Khalil Shakir, Boise State, number 148. Sixth round, 3 picks, punter Matt Ariza, San Diego State, number 180. Corner Christian Benford, Villanova, number 185. Offensive tackle Luke Tenuta, Virginia Tech, number 209. And then 7th round linebacker Bale Inspector, Clemson, number 231. I liked the Bills draft. I mean, the rich got richer. They definitely needed Kyer Elam. They've been looking desperately for someone to play opposite Tre'Davious White because of how detrimental it was when he was out last year. James Cook, phenomenal pick. We heard about Breece Hall possibly for the Bills in the first round, but they got James Cook in the second, which I thought was a lot better value. And then the other 2 picks I really love, Khalil Shakir in the 5th round, I thought was a great pick. They needed some wide receiver depth, and Khalil Shakir, even though they have Isaiah McKenzie right now as the punt and kick returner, Khalil Shakir can be one of the most electric rookie returners in the league this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a shot there. And then the punt god, I was absolutely pissed off at this pick. The Eagles picked 1 selection after, and I was praying. I was like, bro, we got him. Like, Matt Ariza has dropped to the 2nd pick of the 6th round. We are going to get our future punter, and it's going to be a great day for the Eagles in what was already a great draft. And the friggin' Bills picked them before us. But I love the guy, Matt Ariza. They needed someone. They wanted to upgrade over Matt Hawk, and they definitely got it, I think, with Matt Ariza.
Yeah, Ariza is one of my favorite player to team fits in this whole draft. And honestly, he might end up being the most impactful player taken in the Bills draft. When they took him, all I could think about is, imagine you're an opposing defense, right? And you manage to stop Josh Allen on like the opening drive of the game. They go 3 and out, right? And you got them, they're up against their 20. Matt Ariza is a legit field flipper. Like, that dude has a cannon for a leg. So you finally get a stop on defense, but then Matt Ariza trots out and just completely flips the field position, and you feel like you're back to square one. So I think it's going to be and I mean, the other thing is the Bills had the number 1 defense last year, statistically. So it's very interesting.
I think he had 5 or 6 80-yard punts in his career at San Diego State. It's crazy. But he was the 3rd punter. He was the 3rd punter taken, not even the 1st. And that was fun. Because I could only watch the ESPN broadcast. It was hilarious listening to McShay and Kuiper go at it, because McShay had Ariza as his 3rd punter behind Jordan Stout and who's the other guy? I can't remember who the second guy was. But yeah, it was funny because McShay's like, yeah, like the punters went right exactly how I thought they would. And Kuiper's like, I had Ariza number 1, but it makes sense that they went the other way. It was hilarious to watch. But yeah, any other picks that you liked or questioned with the Bills?
No, I thought it was a pretty solid draft. I love James Cook in that offense. I think he could be what Aaron Jones is to the Packers, that kind of guy who is a threat out of the backfield to take it just because he's explosive and has really good speed, who you can also use and line up at wide receiver every now and then if you want. So yeah, I think the Bills got better and they're scary.
Yeah, I was surprised James Cook wasn't getting the love that the likes of Breece Hall and Ken Walker were. I have finally succumbed to calling him Ken Walker, as they have him listed on many places. But yeah, because I thought James Cook was really the most complete back in the draft. We saw he could catch and run at Georgia. Obviously, didn't get the amount of touches that you would like in a number one back, but that's the Georgia system. They breed running backs. I mean, They had 2 drafted in this draft, with Zamir White as well going to the Raiders. And they have many more coming down the line.
But yeah, they run deep. Yeah.
James Cook, I think, will get a great opportunity. Now he's going to a loaded backfield as well. Devin Singletary, who I also love. I was praising Devin Singletary for his miraculous run at the end of the season and into the playoffs. He was the guy that the Bills wanted him to be because they finally gave him the touches that he needed to be that guy. And they put Zach Moss in the doghouse, and Devin Singletary produced. They also signed Duke Johnson as well. So pretty loaded backfield. I don't know how they're going to run it under new offensive coordinator. Who's their new guy? It is their quarterbacks coach, Ken Dorsey, promoted to OC. So we'll see how Ken Dorsey likes the rotation, but yeah. I hate that it's going to eat into Devin Singletary's touches, but again, they're the favorite. They're the Super Bowl favorites right now. And I swear, if they win the Super Bowl this year, after I said they were going to win last year, I'm going to be pissed off. But we haven't done our Super Bowl picks yet. That'll come in August. I don't know. I don't have feelings yet on who I'm picking. So we'll see if I go Buffalo for the second year in a row. But fantasy-wise, we only got 2 offensive players here to talk about. James Cook, 79th overall, RB 26. Like I said, it makes sense. Loaded backfield. Don't know exactly what his role is going to be yet. 11th in the rookie rankings, RB 3. That is behind Breece Hall and Ken Walker.
Yeah. Yep. James Cook is one of my guys this year in Dynasty. I'm hoping to try and get him on my squads, just because I do like the long-term output and fit. Devin Singletary really did seem to put it all together last year, but my understanding is, he's probably, they're not gonna. I would be shocked if they re-signed him. That contract's got to be coming up soon-ish.
Drafted in
18. And I think,
believe drafted in 18 or 19.
Yep. So I like the long-term look for James Cook quite a bit.
And then Khalil Shakir. He was ranked in the top 240, number 232 overall, wide receiver 100. Good number there. 45th on the rookie ranking, wide receiver 22. Has a lot to deal with. He is listed as wide receiver 5 right now, behind Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Jamison Crowder, and Isaiah McKenzie. Obviously, Jamison Crowder, a short-term solution. But why wouldn't Khalil Shakir eventually be the long-term option in the slot for them?
Yep. Yeah, I Khalil Shakir is the guy who I got my eye on. Like, if you got like a couple third rounders, late picks in your rookie drafts, and you're sitting there, you're getting bored, and you want to try and swing for the fences. I mean, Khalil Shakir is a spark plug, man. I mean, he's electric with the ball in his hands. That's what he did for years at Boise State. I was shocked to see him go in the 5th round. Now I understand he's smaller, I guess, than what you'd probably like. Shorter arms. I knew that was a big issue for teams that maybe had him going down, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like the Bills have a creative coaching staff. Just get the ball in your playmaker's hands and let him go to work.
I was just reading the statement from Dwayne Haskins' widow. But yeah, Buffalo Bills draft grade from you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go B+ here. Like I said, love the James Cook picks, love the Khalil Shakir pick. I do like the Kaiir Elam pick because that fills a need for them. Terrell Bernard, I don't know how to feel about that one. I probably would have liked Channing Tindall more there, who went later and who we'll talk about in a little bit here. But yeah, I mean, B+, solid draft. And they got some guys to be excited about.
Yeah, I thought both their linebacker selections were kind of weird. I know Terrell Bernard, there was a lot of people that weren't very high on that pick. Even though it was a fantastic presentation from Kyle Brandt, who announced that pick. So, but anyway,
speaking of electric, Kyle Brandt.
Let's move on to probably the most interesting draft of any of the teams, the New England Patriots. And it started off with probably the most talked about non-third round pick. Cole Strange, center Cole Strange. I'm calling him a center. I don't know if that's actually where he's going to play. They have him slotted at left guard right now. I guess that's where he's going to start. But I have him at center just because he played there at the Senior Bowl and he played well, being that was the first time he ever played center, was at the Senior Bowl. So versatility there, all 3 spots. Chattanooga, number 29 overall. 2nd round, another questionable selection. Wide receiver Tyquan Thornton, Baylor, number 50. 3rd round, corner Marcus Jones, Houston, number 85. 4th round, corner Jack Jones, Arizona State, number 121. And running back Pierre Strong, South Dakota State, number 127. Also in the 4th round, quarterback Bailey Zappi, Western Kentucky, number 137. Didn't have a 5th rounder. They had 3 6th rounders. Running back Kevin Harris, South Carolina, number 183. Defensive tackle Sam Roberts, Northwest Missouri State, number 200. And then center Chasen Hines, LSU, number 210. And then 7th round offensive tackle Andrew Stuber, Michigan, number 245. would you like to go, or do you want me to talk about this thing?
I feel like you're chomping at the bit, so I'm going to defer to you and then just clean up whatever you don't nail down.
All right. So yeah, Cole Strange, the Belichick gives no craps thing was on full display in the first 2 rounds. Cole Strange, we had him as a 3rd rounder. Most of the league had him as a 3rd rounder, including Sean McVay and the LA Rams. And I was praying that he was going to be in the 3rd round there for the Steelers to go and get, because the Steelers needed some offensive line help. Or actually, no. I think I said the Panthers originally. I was looking for him as the Panthers in the 3rd round, possibly, and the Steelers. I mean, both needed some offensive line help. But yeah, I mean, 29th overall, pretty crazy there. I think maybe Nike was making some picks there. Bill Belichick's dog, Nike, as we saw last year's draft. Tyquan Thornton, again, that was very high at 50 for him. As you saw 2 picks later, Steelers got George Pickens at 52. So there were definitely other receivers there at 50 that the Patriots could have got. But absolutely love Marcus Jones. We talked about Marcus Jones all pre-draft, one of the most versatile guys out there. He's going to help them a lot in the slot and the return game. He's the backup right now to Jacoby Myers. There's no way Jacoby Myers is going to be the punt returner. Absolutely no chance, in my mind anyways, considering he's one of your starters at wide receiver. And then it got questionable again, though. I mean, drafting two running backs.
They already have 2 good ones.
They have 3 good ones.
Yeah.
Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, and they re-signed James White.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, you draft 1. You definitely need 4 running backs. But why do you have to draft 2? Like, you could have gotten something else that you needed more of, which they were very, very light on the front 7. They picked 1 front 7 player in this draft, Sam Roberts, who I've never heard of, out of Northwest Missouri State, let alone.
That's a Bill Belichick deep cut right there.
And then sandwiched in between the running back picks, they drafted a quarterback, which again, it's like, why? I mean, I love Bailey Zappi. I'm going to have to hate him now because he's a Patriot. I love Bailey Zappi. He was my guy coming out of Houston Baptist and then going to Western Kentucky last year. I understand they need someone long-term to back up Mac Jones. Brian Hoyer is not going to be there forever. I don't know if this was the year to do it when you did other stuff. And when has Belichick kept 3 quarterbacks? Not very often, I don't think. So I don't even know if Bailey Zappi makes it on the roster as a 4th round pick. And I didn't know much about Chasen Hines or Andrew Stuber or Jack Jones. So yeah, that was a draft.
So I want to start out positive. Marcus Jones pick, outstanding. That's about where he was. And I think he's an outstanding fit with New England and with Bill Belichick and what he wants to do with that defense. They needed help at cornerback. I think Marcus Jones will be able to provide that in a limited role because, again, of his size. But I thought that was a good pick. Bailey Zappi. I think Bailey Zappi could develop into the one of the best backups in football. And Belichick likes doing that where he develops backup, trade them. You know, it's evergreen. But this is an awful draft. It's just there's no way to, sugarcoat it. It just is. And one of the better points I saw made about why this draft is so bad is that the NFL draft is kind of like a game, and it's not necessarily always about who's at the top of your board. You have to also leverage the consensus board. No matter, how much you might be adverse to that. I believe them when they say that Cole Strange was the top guy on their board and that they had a first round grade on him. That's great. Nobody else did. Yeah. Not a single other scouting department. When you have Sean McVay and Les Snead, the two Super Bowl winning head coach and GM, laughing at your selection in a press conference, that's just bad. It's just bad roster management. And I think that it is time that we start giving Bill Belichick a little bit of heat about his roster construction. He's rightfully dodged that for years because, the Patriots built probably the most impressive dynasty in football history, and he'll always be remembered for that. But the way that this roster has been constructed over the past few years has just not been great. And it continues with this draft. And the worst part about it is, I like some of these guys. We talked about Cole Strange. I like Cole Strange as a third round pick. I like Tyquan Thornton. Big deep threat. He was pretty productive at Baylor. There's a lot of upside there. I like him in the 4th round. And I don't like him over George Pickens. When you're picking at 50, you want to take a wide receiver who has number 1 upside. And I just don't see that with Tyquan Thornton. And then the running backs, like you mentioned it. You can't roster 5. You just can't roster 5 running backs. So one of those guys isn't even going to make the roster unless they cut James White, which could happen. But the Patriots like their guys. And James White is a Patriot. He's been one of their guys for a long time.
I'm hoping they can't Pierre Strong.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I like Pierre Strong. I loved Kevin Harris too. He was one of my sleepers. I was like, man, somebody could get something real good in Kevin Harris. He might not make the roster. So it's just, I don't know. I don't get the vision. And the other thing is with the Cole Strange pick, you also have to put it in the context of they traded away Shaq Mason for nothing. Shaq Mason is a top 5 guard in the NFL.
5th round pick.
Right. For a 5th round pick. And let's say Cole Strange, the best case scenario is that Cole Strange comes in and is as good. Well, you just spent a 1st round pick that you didn't have to because you already had Shaq Mason. So it just, all the way around, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. And how many hits has Belichick had in the last 5 drafts?
Nope.
Not many.
Nope.
They got a pretty good guy when they picked up Jacoby Myers in undrafted free agency 2 years ago. And their spending spree last year didn't produce much. They got to the playoffs and got annihilated by the Buffalo Bills. Hunter Henry nor Jonnu Smith produced enough to justify either of those contracts.
Yep.
Year 1. Trent Brown coming back has been good. I don't think he's been great. And, they've had guys that they've gotten, Dietrich Wise, they drafted Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings, Ronnie Perkins, Jawan Williams. And they got back Malcolm Butler. who was an undrafted free agent for them before. I mean, you look at it, maybe you can say they hit on Kyle Duggar. I haven't really noticed him too much in his first couple of seasons. He was behind Devin McCourty all those years, those first couple of seasons anyways. Maybe Christian Barmore, you can say hit. Mac Jones, I think the jury's still out on him. But it's just, Belichick, I said it once Brady left. They are on the decline. And they keep holding on because I think Belichick is a good enough coach that he gets the roster to the cusp of the playoffs, and like you can get them in as a wild card, but it's the Bills division now. The Jets are getting better. The Dolphins playoff hype this year after winning 7 out of the last 8 games of the season. So the division is better, and the Patriots have stayed the same or gotten worse, even with new draft picks.
Yep. That's exactly how I would put it. This is a decent roster. Decent is not good enough to compete in the AFC with how stacked it is now. And it might not even be good enough to compete in your own division now. I mean, I probably like the Dolphins roster more, at least from a potential perspective. So, yeah.
I think they're lucky that they got Devontae Parker, because going in with Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, and Nelson Aguilar for a second straight season would have been tough to look at.
Yep.
But anyways, fantasy-wise, we got 4 guys for the Patriots. Tyquan Thornton, number 132 overall, wide receiver 61. 18th overall on the rookies, wide receiver 14. So he's listed well above. He listed 100 spots above Khalil Shakir in the overall rankings, and 8 wide receiver positions above him in the rookie rankings. 8. So yeah. And he's listed as the 5th wide receiver right now. So I don't understand how that works, but okay.
I mean, that's probably where he is for now and like the foreseeable future. Like they'll put him in as a deep threat. But I mean, I don't see him seeing the field over Aguilar, Parker, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne.
You got a guy who they also have guys that probably won't make the roster, but they drafted Trey Nixon, 7th round last year. Who's another guy that's go. Just go. And Christian Wilkerson, who they loved as an undrafted free agent as well. And the ever floundering N'Keal Harry is still there. Pierre Strong, number 163 overall, RB 50, 32nd on the top 65. Rookies, RB 12. You're asking a lot to draft him in a rookie draft when you don't know if he's going to make the roster.
My advice would be like, if you have a pretty good roster and you're looking to like just kind of like fill your taxi squad with maybe some guys who can pan out in the future because you can afford to like wait on a guy, maybe. But again, like Ramondre Stevenson's not going anywhere. I don't know. I mean, James White probably is on his way out at some point, just because of age. Damian Harris, I mean, contract will run out at some point. But yeah, you're asking a lot of things to happen to where he is even close to seeing a good fantasy outlook.
Yeah, I might actually look at him, because my league that I run is actually we're adding a taxi squad this year, so we should. I think I might be able to look at him. Hopefully, I might be able to get him as an undrafted free agent, but we'll see. I forgot we actually have 5, or no? Did I say 4? I don't know. We have four offensive players here. Bailey Zappi, not listed on the overall 240, obviously. He did make the top 65 rookies, though. Came in 64th on that list, QB 6. So I don't think there's no reason you should have Bailey Zappi on your roster.
No.
Even on your taxi. I mean, that's you're taking a spot up that you probably should fill with a wide receiver or a running back.
No. If you're in a 16-man super flex league, you can consider taking Bailey Zappi. But if you're not, don't.
And then Kevin Harris, also not listed on the top 240, is also listed on the rookies top 65. 51st on there, RB 17. So 5 spots below Pierre Strong on the RB rankings, anyways, in terms of rookies. Same thing, though, right?
Yep. Just copy and paste what we said for Pierre Strong for.
But I mean, Kevin Harris, he has so much more to prove, being 2 rounds later than Pierre
Right.
Strong. So,
Well, like we said, he might not even make the roster.
yeah. Okay. Finally, Miami Dolphins. Got a long talk about them with their whopping 4 selections in the 22 draft. First and second round picks going to the Chiefs for the Tyreek Hill trade. I don't know where their 5th and 6th rounders went. One of those 2 went to the Chiefs. I think the 6th went to the Chiefs as well in that same trade or something like that. I don't know. I have all the transactions on my draft notebook on Excel, but don't have that open currently. Anyways, first pick for them in the 3rd round. Linebacker Channing Tindall, Georgia 102. 4th round wide receiver Eric Ezukanma, Texas Tech number 125. Didn't have a 5th, didn't have a 6th. And then 2 7th rounders, linebacker Cameron Good, California number 224, and quarterback Skylar Thompson, Kansas State number 247. Go ahead.
For me, this just boils down to pick 102 with Channing Tindall. Love it. Love the fit. Gives you some special teams, oomph right away. And I think he can be a starter. I was very impressed with him at Georgia. I mean, that whole linebacking core was sick. And he was a pretty good part of it. So, yeah, I mean, I love that fit. I thought that he probably could have gone 20 selections higher. The rest of the guys, I quite honestly do not feel confident enough to talk about because I did not scout any of them or have any familiarity with how anybody else views them. So I mean, probably at 125 with Eric Ezukanma, probably would have liked to see somebody else come off the board. I mean, we saw Khalil Shakir fall to the 5th. Romeo Doubs fell to my Packers at 132. But I mean, if they like them, it's after day 2, when you're on day 3, you're really splitting hairs when you're talking about like the consensus board and reaching and stuff. Then it's more like, okay, like we've identified this guy who has traits we like, who we think could fill out a role for us. In that case, I mean, I'm not going to get on a GM or anybody for not leveraging the consensus board. So, yeah, love the Channing Tindall pick. And then you got to factor in that the reason they didn't pick a whole lot is they got Tyreek Hill. They got a top 3 wide receiver in the league. So,
yeah, they did well prior to the draft with the Hill. They got Raheem Mostert. They got Chase Edmonds, Sony Michel. Sony Michel is after the draft, but got him. They got Alec Ingold, Teron Armstead, Connor Williams. They also went ahead, re-signed to Landon Roberts, and re-sign. I think they had to re-sign Eric Rowe too. They signed Thomas Morstead out of retirement. But yeah, I love Channing Tindall thing as well. He's going to be a backup this year behind Roberts and Jerome Baker, who are very good. Will be the third linebacker. Probably going to play a lot in the nickel and dime sets. And then next year, take over full-time beside Jerome Baker when Landon Roberts is gone. But I like the Eric Ezukanma pick, though, too. They needed depth at wide receiver with Parker going to New England. They didn't have much. They did sign Trent Sherfield from the Cardinals. They still have Preston Williams, but he's been so-so since his torn ACL in 2020. And they needed a guy that would be able to be the fourth receiver, and I think he will be. You look at his Texas Tech receiving record, not the greatest, only 2,100 yards in 4 seasons there, but he only played 34 total games. So he had his 3 seasons, though, that he played the most, redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore, redshirt junior year, 19 through 21. He was over 660 yards all 3 seasons there, 4+ touchdowns in each year. So not the greatest, but he's not asked to be the guy. He has to be a contributor, and I think those are good enough numbers. He can come in and be a solid contributor as a fourth receiver for them when they need it. And he's also, if this was going to work, he's got size. I mean, he's big, 6'3", 220. So can be a jump ball guy where they lost kind of that with Devontae Parker. And the other 2 guys, yeah, Cameron Good. I mean, so at Cal. He's listed as an outside linebacker here, so he'll be able to learn, like you said, from Melvin Ingram there. And the other guys, Emmanuel Ogbah, Andrew Van Ginkel as well. And Skylar Thompson, it's just a flyer. They wanted to try to get a developmental quarterback. Why not?
right.
They didn't have anything else they wanted to go after. So. They already had running backs. They already had receivers. They were good on offensive linemen. They're really loaded at offensive line. Like, holy crap. They easily run 2 deep there. And yeah, I mean, maybe they could have added a tight end. But they drafted Hunter Long last year. They have Durham Smythe and Adam Shaheen behind Mike Gesicki. So, yeah. I mean, this roster is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're another team on the short list that they got a lot better this year or this offseason.
So we have 2 offensive players out of the 4 to talk about in fantasy wise. I'm gonna go to Skylar Thompson first because he's not listed on either the top 240 nor the top 65 rookies.
Yep.
So we're just gonna slide him out of the way real quick.
Yep.
But Eric Ezukanma listed 181 on the top 240, wide receiver 83, and then 36th on the rookies, wide receiver 20. Again, I think it's a good flyer. Depending on how many rounds you have in your rookie draft. I know my league, we're moving from 5 to 4 rounds this year, or next year. So we still have 5 rounds this year. But yeah, I think it's a good flyer if you have more than 3 rounds, which I know a lot of leagues don't. I know a lot of leagues have 3, but if you do, or if you're looking for someone after the draft, I think Eric Ezukanma should be undrafted in a 3-round rookie draft. So possibly add him.
Also, depending on how many guys are in your league, like if you're in one of the bigger leagues, that's a guy who may be in the later rounds or is a kind of priority free agent, if you will. It could be a fun flyer.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, your Dolphins grade for all 4 picks.
I mean, if you factor in the fact that they got one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and a legit game changer also into this equation, I think it's an A. I think it's an A. I think other than that, it would be I guess a non-complete because they didn't have enough to actually warrant a grade. But yeah, I mean, I like the Tyndall pick. You outlined very well how Ezukanma can be a quality role player for them, and they got a top 3 wide receiver who is a legit game changer. So
yeah, I think you have to count rounds 1 and 2 picks with Tyreek in there.
yeah.
So. All right. That is the AFC East. And next Monday, I'm going to continue to say Friday shows are just like up in the air.
There are flex shows.
We will let you know if Friday shows are going to happen, but for now they are not. We're banking on the Monday shows at the very least. So next Monday, though, we'll be back recapping USFL Week 7 and previewing USFL Week 8. We'll have all the NCAA, NFL news, maybe XFL if they keep coming out with stuff. And then we will be continuing the 8th round with the NFC East. So I will be wearing all my Eagle stuff next.
Love it.
That is the show for today. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Thank you, Logan, and I will see you next week in Akron, Ohio.
Nice. Sunny Akron.